Hello and welcome to J Hennon Tarot. Today we're going to be talking about the Devil, which is card number 15 in the Major Arcana. What this card talks about is addiction, obsession and restriction. And it talks about those times in our life when we do become addicted to certain things in our life, like a relationship or the thought about having a relationship, about sex, drinking, drugs, partying, overeating, or just shopping for the sake of shopping. It's when we live very much in the material side of our life and forget that there is a spiritual side, an element to our life, and we become very restricted, very obsessed with things as well, and as a result we become enslaved and restricted by how we think. So it's a very negative phase of our life, and when this turns up in the spread, it normally means that in some way you're living from a very negative, egotistical sort of viewpoint, and you're trapped within a situation where you think you're trapped and you think you're restricted. But of course, in truth, you're actually not trapped. And it shows it in this picture here. The devil at the top is controlling the situation, but he's not in full control, because both the figures at the bottom have only got chains around their necks. They're not around their arms or their legs. So at any point, they are free to remove the shackles from their neck and to walk away. But they are enslaved, and they believe that they're enslaved. They aren't actually enslaved. It's just their belief that they are. So this is normally a time when, once we become aware that we're caught in a cycle that is negative and unproductive, like when we go through phases of over drinking, overeating, over socializing, even being over spiritual can be a form of this card. When we become addicted and obsessed with situations in our life or people, then this is how we feel. And it's unproductive, really, because the ego is pretty much in control of the situation and is becoming too powerful for us. And we need to remember that we also have a spiritual side, which is very beneficial. When we find that balance between what we do outwardly and what we do inwardly, then we start to free ourselves from this restricting situation. When we're in the cusp of this, we start to notice these patterns. That's when the changes can be made. That's when sometimes an alcoholic will finally admit that maybe he's an alcoholic, and it's time to get out of that, get the help you need, to get the medicine and the therapy and the counselling to help you break free from it, remembering that you're the only person that can free yourself. Nobody else can do it for you. And you're never ever as restricted as you think you are, because these shackles here are only around the head. They're not completely imprisoning you, so you can get away from it. And that's the important thing. And also the message of this card is not to think so seriously in life, not to be so serious and mundane. There is lots to life, more to life than you could ever imagine. And sometimes lightening up and being a bit happier and not so serious about everything, because the card is actually ruled by Capricorn as well, star sign, which is the star sign about taking things seriously and being very serious. So that would be that. So, you know, if you're in a relationship and it's based around sex and that's all it is, and there's not a lot of love in it, it's just purely sex or an affair, then you may get this card. So you're caught in a situation that you need to admit you're caught in, and you need to start thinking about finding ways to free yourself, because the ego is can be a very powerful influence in our life. And when the ego is more in control and more speaking to us more than our spirit is, or we think it is, then sometimes we begin to get drawn into what I would call humanism, which is where we just live for the point of, we want more greed, we want more sex, we want more drink, and we want more excitement and interest. But it's outside stimulus. It's not the true picture of who we really are. And when we overdo it and overindulge, and then of course once we get into these negative patterns, we then need more of what we've got, and we can't cope, and then we get trapped, and then we get trapped into this belief that we are restricted by what we want, which of course is never the truth. We just choose to be. So the devil is not a very nice card, but once you get it and you realize what it is that's holding you back, that you're restricted by, or addicted to, or obsessed by, then that's what you can start to work on and start to release in your life. And it's a very beneficial card, really, because the cards around you will show you what sort of habits that you've got. You could be addicted to wishful thinking, thinking your life's going to get better, and it's not. You could be addicted to drugs, as I say, alcohol, sex, money, power, greed, all these sorts of things. But with a little bit of thought and consideration, and perhaps some sort of soul searching, you can find out, perhaps through a therapist, you can find out what it is that's holding you back, that what it is that's stopping you. And the voice in your head is not always necessarily the devil. It can be your own ego. In most cases, it is your ego. It's your shadow side, your personality side. And this is what this card is all about, living from your personality. And of course, we're spiritual beings as well. We have to learn to give and to receive in life, and to get things into balance. Enjoy life, but don't become obsessed or addicted to things. This is the message of the card. And once you realize that you are, unfortunately, living more from the mundane and less from the spirit, then that's when it's time to change and bring the balance into your life, and you will feel a lot better for it. And you can free yourself from these shackles, which of course you can do at any time anyway. There's no restriction in life. Addictive behaviours are very difficult to break when you're trying to do it yourself. So you have to get help. That is paramount, really. Speak to the right people. Be patient with yourself. And when you get out of this, however long it takes, be kind to yourself. Because when you break these patterns, you really can. I've done it myself, so I'm talking from experience. I mean, I've never been an alcoholic or a drug addict, but I've had my addictions and obsessions in different ways. I became spiritually obsessed at one point. I've had to modify it and moderate it a bit. But we've all gone through these phases. No one's perfect by any means, but once we get to grips with it, this is when we can change, and we can, really progress, evolve and learn, and do ultimately what we're here to do, which is live a balanced life. I hope that's been of some use to you, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.